Hey, thanks for tuning in. We're doing a weekend review for the week ending March 25th, 2022. We're looking at a chart of the S&P 500. Boy, has the script changed coming into last week. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had already broken this lower high and set a higher high, so trend change on the daily. And we were coming right into the 200. And, you know, the people who like to guess were saying this is an ABC. Be careful, there's a big another leg lower. The people that like to follow the trend were saying, well, wait a minute. This looks a lot like this period here. Or we've got a downtrend. We break that downtrend. Ultimately set a higher high. Just like we've done right here. And then march on for a long time as ADX flips up. As price goes higher now, we're going to test this bearish divergence high right here at 42. Price is at, or ADX is at 11. So this thing could march all the way up to all-time highs again. Or at least set a lower high, fill this gap at 464 before falling back down. And when you look at this setup, it would be very hard for me to be bearish. Price is above all the moving averages on the daily. PPO is back above the zero line. The bearish divergence that was on PPO has broken. All right, so this downtrend is broken. We now have the bulls in charge. The weekly last week gave everyone a clue. Right, close above this pivot high. So, you know, in Elliott wave, right, we see that flat a lot, this little ABC thing, and everyone's super, super cautious, as you should be. We'll just do it down here at the A high, because the assumption's real simple, right? You're either going to get rejected at the A high and then head lower, or you're going to break above the A high, and really the A the whole time was probably a 1, 2, 3 impulse wave, right? These are the bullish ones that you like. These are the best ones. And when you look at the S&P 500, what we want to see is, you know, at least in this particular correction, we wanted to see the weekly PPO come back to the zero line, just like it did back here during the COVID lows. And that was a long process, right? It started to curl down back in April of 2021. And that's pretty much where price ultimately bottomed, the 420 level. You know, so it's interesting to see as a bull, you know, coming into this upcoming week, you want to buy dips really against this pivot low, right? Which is also ultimately this previous week's low, 440. As long as price stays above 440, there's no reason to think that something like this couldn't be in play, and all of these levels here, let's make them orange so they're easy to see, would be in play, right? There's no reason to think 464 to 476 can't come into play this week. And the close at 452.69, right below the 1.0 extension. Again, you know, we had a very, very clear correction here. In my opinion, you know, it wasn't as steep as everyone wanted, but it did satisfy, technically speaking. I think it hit the 618. Yep, 421. And that's where they bottomed. And if you go look at the Elliott Wave rulebook, the ABCs can be the 618, the 1.0, 1, 2, 3, 6. And if it's a 1618, it's actually a zigzag, and you're likely at wave 3. We don't have any of that. We have a very, 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 very bullish weekly ABC. PPO reset to 0, minimum extension hit, back above all the moving averages. I don't know how I could view this as bearish. Again, we then want to use trend lines to help give us a visual, right? So there is still this one trend line here. You could say, look, we don't get above this 1, 2, 3, 6 extension. This could be pretty ugly. Fair enough. So what's the play this week? Well, use the hourly signals, and we'll zoom into the hourly chart here in a second, and the daily signals to dictate your buy-sell actions is at least what I'm going to be doing. And as long as we're above this yellow line, I'm not panicking at all with any of my longs. I'm just sitting back and enjoying the ride. The fact that the 10s crossed the 40 is a very, very bullish development. It happened here, and look at all the pain that came, right? The 10 crossed below the 40. That signaled trend mode. We could definitely have an intermediate trend unfolding here, not just a short term, 3 to 6 to even 9 sessions. This is probably 3 to 9 weeks. And using the weekly time frame that we were just looking at, this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we probably have like 3 more weeks of rally before some type of pullback, 2 to 3 weeks. And again, this is just the average. So what I like to do, again, I'm not making buy-sell decisions on the weekly. I'm using the hourly time frames. I've got my scripts that run. They tell me when the momentum flips. Then I like to see momentum come back down towards the 0 line in some fashion, set a higher low, some divergence like you see here on SPY. This is very bullish. Each one of these lows was met with a higher low in momentum, and ultimately a higher high, breaking above even this bearish divergence here when price was up here. Back in February, the momentum was at 0.98. Well, price was lower here in March and a higher momentum. That's a hidden bullish divergence. Not to mention we've got the 40 crossing above the 200. So this downtrend on the hourly that's been very, very persistent since December has broken, right? And what you have is a very, very, very bullish setup right now. Any dips against 443 are likely to be bought. Ultimately, the line in the sand is now the 200 on the hourly, which you saw here was back tested. Closed above, back test, march higher. Start going for those fibs that we called out earlier in the video. You've now got the PPO crossing up again, and what you want to see now as price goes and sets another high relative to these highs here is does momentum confirm, does ADX confirm, or does ADX continue in some type of declining pattern, right? Because if you do see this with these higher highs, the same thing here with the hourly PPO, we would have 2 divergence signals, one in ADX, our momentum, right? And if ADX isn't above 30, it's not really anything to be happy about, right? So you would want to see this 30 to 25 level hold, flip back up, break out, then come break this high and ultimately challenge this ADX peak. And that's when we'd be looking for this run to end, right? Just like they did every other time, right? These ADX peaks, check this out, historically have been to the downside. Now, as price has moved up, we've set an ADX peak. So again, just like I showed you on the daily chart, the ADX is flipping to where the peaks are associated with higher highs now in price. They're not just associated with lower lows. So all of this is very, very bullish. I know we've spent now almost 10 minutes on the S&P 500, but I just wanted to show you what it is I'm looking at. I'm playing the hourly, daily time frames for my signals. These signals generate probably 10 to 15 trades every about 2 months. And so that's kind of like the time frame that I'm using. All right, so let's take a look at the other sectors. So IWM, PPO reset to 0, curl up, looks like the cross is coming, right? We've got this divergence in ADX. Looks like this is going to resolve as well. We've got the floor. We're at the floor, okay? So they're going to have to decide which direction they want to go, and then they're going to start trending. what's hilarious is this thing is back in balance just like it did for pretty much all of 2021. It's doing it again here, just in a different price range. So instead of it being like 208 to 230 as the price range for 2021, the price range is now 188 to 209. But what the reason I'm bringing this up is that this is what the market does. It is rare for the market to trend for a whole year, a major index, right? It's normal for the market to oscillate within a balance area. And a balance area then gets lots of news generated headlines to get these massive swings, right? It's like this was associated with the invasion right here, January 28th, the start of the invasion, and then this one. So it's like you can see on the chart how crazy the news will impact a stock that's range bound, just because it generally puts in like the floor or the ceiling. And then, more of that news headline comes out, and then it means less and less. And that's just the way it works. Either way, let's talk to technicals. We've got a bull flag pattern, right? Price has come up. We're consolidating, and this is ultimately the move I'm looking for. And this all stems from the monthly, right? The monthly being right now a bear flag, but also this is very, very bullish. The thing is just going sideways as PPO resets to 0. Now, if the monthly PPO is going to go all the way to 0, then price is likely going to head all the way down to 173 to 154. That being said, we are in balance. That's the low probability event. That would be, by the end of the year type of thing. Some point throughout the year, this thing's going to come up, head back into balance, then head back down to the bottom side. Okay, and right now, all we have is stuck in balance, and this is a lower high, 208.79 versus 209.05. So the bulls want to see this flag. They want to see the 10. Remember, same thing that you have on SPY, 10 crossed above the 40. All the moving averages are looking the way they need to, less the 200, which is above. We'd love to see that below. When you zoom into the 65, this resistance line, and really, which is all stemming from the daily, right? This resistance here, you see this on the hourly, and this is exactly what you want. You want to see price flag at resistance. You don't want to see price come up, tag the resistance level, and then fall down, get rejected, right? You want to see price bust through it or flag. Those are the only two bullish scenarios. That being said, this thing looks poised. She has been lagging, okay? But if she can get above, it unlocks 230. And the longer she goes sideways, the better, in my opinion. You want to base. You want a large base, and then you want to stair step higher. This is the visualization of a stair step higher. All right, this is what you want to do. Base, look above and go. Base, look above and go. That's the bullish scenario. Let's pull up the Qs, which have been leading. Okay, looks just like SPY. All right, now I love this broadening formation. Whether this is the pattern or not, I don't really care. This is what we got. Right. Now maybe it means one more like that before a massive decline. I don't know. I can just tell you this is a broadening out in price and time, right? And you can see it happen just like I visualized for you. What you have, the same thing I talked about in SPY, everything's the same here. So I'm using the same tools to analyze all the markets. As you can tell, you've seen me do these videos now for a while. It's the same metrics, right? And what we have here is the divergence in PPO has broken, as you can see here with the histogram, which is giving you basically the distance between the 12 and the 26 EMAs. It's killing it right now. All right, this is a very strong trend. Unlike back here, again, this also means it's probably unsustainable. Like I keep pointing out, another 2 weeks, and that's probably all you got. But again, you don't need to guess. Just use your momentum signals, right? What is momentum? It's rate of change. So take a look at price. The easiest thing that you can do is just do a trailing stop, right? If price closes the previous day's low, then I'm out 50% of the trade. And then if it closes below, let's say the orange line or the yellow line, pick one, I don't care. Then I'm out the other 50%. And this is how I'm going to manage my risk. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for stocks that are trending. Right? We need a trend to make money. And historically speaking, on the Qs, if you want to bet that this is a downtrend, you're going to lose money. If you want to bet that this is an uptrend and buy dips on the weekly time frame, when the PPO comes back to the zero line, I think you're going to have a much higher probability of success. And if you look at something like this, you can just now say, well, look, we've closed above the previous week high 2 weeks in a row. We were not doing that. Go back to the top. You don't need any of these indicators. None of this stuff, all right? You can just go look at price. Here was the high, 405. Closed, 391, which was below the low of 392. That started the down. Ever since then, right? Inside bar, inside bar, inside bar, inside bar, broke the inside bar pattern bear, inside bar, broke bear, right? Inside, bear, bear, bear. Like all of this is just downtrend. None of it was a convincing close above the previous candle high, right? Just like the convincing close below, which is needed to set up any type of pullback. Okay, the first step is always not only break the low, but break the low and then close below, right? And here it took 2 weeks to do back in May of 2021. Here we did it, a lot quicker. But the point I'm trying to bring up with any of this is that just write yourself a script, be robotic, wait for the higher low or lower low pattern to break before you're betting that it reverses. You don't need to be the guy that top ticked up here at 408.71. This retrace at 400 was good enough. And playing the bounce off the 20 was also fine, right? Because you're in an uptrend. This is a weekly chart. The 20 is sloping up. So what we're looking for this week in the Qs is a test of 368. This confluence here will likely provide sellers. Confluence of the 20 and the 40. And when you look at the monthly chart, you got the same PPO resetting to zero type thing happening. Now what I want to see on the Qs is, do they get to 743? They're at 11. They were at 15. Right? How low do they go? I'm looking for a period like this, right? Where we just had this function here. We just did the A bit. That's what I'm looking for here. It could be long and drawn out. That's what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting anything more than that. I'm not expecting, another massive year-long rally like that's not what I'm expecting. I'm expecting a correction. Right? And the PPO still above the zero. This is still very bullish. This entire correction didn't even, until the 2020 lows, didn't even touch the 40. So that's what we're looking for here, for the 40 to come up to price. And we're going to use the 65-minute and the daily time frame and the same strategies, the same swing trading strategies that focus on crossovers, that focus on ADX, that focus on moving averages to help us identify trends that we can hop on board. Right? We don't need to guess. We just need to hop on until we know that they're over. And again, I'm using the daily, hourly time frame for the buy sells, but I also have awarenesses of weekly levels, monthly levels, and where you get these key pivots. So the last sector we'll talk about is SMH. well, I guess SMH, gold, and Bitcoin will be quick. We're a little long, almost at 20 minutes now. So the same thing here. PPO reset to 0, right? Went to 0.5, which is great. And the super strong stocks defend the 4,200 cross, right? So this PPO could have kept going lower. Of course, it could have come down and tagged the line. Still may come back down. Still may. But the point is, any dip into 264 is a really, really strong buy. Really strong buy, right? And it's possible that this is the pattern that's unfolding here. You know, it's possible this thing already completed. And now we're on to this. Right? I don't know. I don't need to guess. If they're above this blue line, I think it's fine to remain long. If the blue line's lost, anticipate 260 to 265 getting tested. That's the play for this week. Also recognize that this PPO reset to 0, put in a higher low, and is now curling back up. Very, 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 very bullish. And this is a breakout. There's just no other way to talk about it. Right? So we've broken this downtrend, and we're back above the 40, which is very, very important. So it takes lower prices off the board. Right? Until what? Until they can close below last week's low. And this is the same theme on all the indexes. The trend is now up. It is up. Momentum has returned. You can see momentum returning on all the time frames. It starts with the 65, right? We're above the 40, the 200. We're above the point of control. Where all the traffic, right? Where most of the shares get transacted at. They've accumulated all the shares. They've gone sideways, right? Basically since January. And now they're launching higher. And what's that look like? Looks like the band's starting to curl up on the daily. The weekly looks like it's recapturing the 40. And the monthly looks like, oh, we just tagged the 20. That's all we did. And again, this is an uptrend. You don't bet that the 20 is going to fail and we're just going to slice down to the bottom of the bands. That may happen. It happened right here. Happened right here, right? But that's, again, not where we are today. And, you know, I'm going to bet with the trend until this thing rolls. And even back here in 2015, 2016, it made sense to stick with a bullish conviction and a bullish thesis on semiconductors. Same thing with the 2020 COVID crash. Same thing with the China trade wars. Same during COVID. And oh my gosh, now look, you know, all the supply. It's an industry that's going to be here for a while. And there's always going to be a wall of worry to climb. And it doesn't mean that you avoid. It means that you trade it tactically with a daily, hourly time frame until the weeklies improve, which is what you're seeing now. And now you can take a more long, hey, I'm willing to give, at minimum, let's make the bears close below the 10. And let's just see what happens. Follow the trend. This is something that you can do. Just test it. Go watch. If the trend is reversing on the weekly, because remember, the thing has done nothing for a year. SMH is literally where it was over a year ago now. Right? February closed at 253. Last week closed at 269. It's essentially the same. Okay? Unchanged in over a year when you have things like NVDA inside of that, which over that exact same time, April, way back here, is up 72%, right? So they've been distributing SMH. Don't get it wrong, definitely. But PPO reset to 0, curling up on the weekly. We're going to see what the bulls have. Can they get above the 20 this week? 284 is the target this week. And dips into 265 are for buying. Let's take a look at gold. I mean, I still love this PPO look. Love that angle of attack. I think prices, or at least momentum, is going to try to get back up to 5. I think ADX has definitely put in some sort of a peak like she did here. I think this is definitely a reversal candle on volume. You know, this is what I see in the chart, right? All of this is market generated data. No opinions. I'm just giving you what I see, right? You could say that this trend line is still intact, but again, more importantly, price is still going higher over time. What's going to come down to for gold is this monthly close. Do they close above the top of the band, which is 185 on GLD, or they do not? And if they do, it unlocks a period like this. See, close above the top of the band. That's what led to the next, you know, year of price appreciation. Don't close above the top, and back to the 20 you go, 171. And you look at the daily, this is all Swiss cheese up here. I don't like the look of this one bit. And price can't get and stay above 182. It's struggling to stay above 182. There's, you know, a massive gap down, a ton of trapped longs, another gap down, another gap down, another gap down. So everyone's trapped. I don't like the look of this one bit. And the 65-minute chart is telling me best case scenario, there's really no trend here. Worst case scenario, bear flag in play, right? Best case scenario, they do something like this. They ABC a little bit higher than where they already have before they do the next leg lower. That's how I see gold. It is not a buy for me until I can see the end of the month. And once I get the end of the month, then I'll have a much better picture on gold. Until then, it's sidelines and waiting for me. Bitcoin, what's hilarious is it pulls back to the 20, just like SMH, just like all these other things, and everyone loses their cool. This is what I'm watching for into Sunday's close. Does she close above 46? Get above 46, 59's in play. And my favorite type of setup where you get these one candle that controls all the price action. It gives you such, so it makes it, it's obviously it's range bound, right? So the hardest part of the market, you know, as a rookie is, are we range bound or are we still trending higher, right? This one's been range bound for a long time, super easy to see. And when you have one big candle that's got a huge range on it, and then price basically stays inside that range, goes below, but then comes back right up, this is telling me that this candle's high-low is very, very important, right? So this 41,634 level, very important. And this 59,308, very important. Using the 65-minute chart, you know, still no trend, right? It gets exciting, and it is doing its stair-step higher thing, which is what we want to see, but it's getting weaker and weaker. And the daily is, again, finding supply right where we expect it. So she's really got to get above the 45,899 before anything else is in play. And if she could do that, like I was saying earlier, 59's in play. So, you know, the longer she goes sideways, the more she's building that base, like I was talking about earlier, to come back up here and challenge the previous all-time high. But again, the high probability bet while you're in balance is to stay in balance. It's not to leave. It's to stay right where you are. So unfortunately, that's what I'm seeing over there. Let's take a look at XLE, right? This thing is just in a monster uptrend. Even the little reversal we had here, it's still going higher. I mean, I don't know when this is going to end. I don't think it will. Just yet, but right, first step, got to get below the top of the Bollinger Band on the monthly. This thing's above the top, so if you buy every dip, right? I mean, the weekly, any dip into the yellow or orange line on the weekly has just been a gift. Absolutely consolidated, now marching higher. I mean, honest to God, this is what could be in play. 130, maybe conservative 100. XLE is still the strongest sector in the ETF, inside SPY. I will bring up, got to bring up CGC and the pot stocks. They're now putting in a monster rally, the largest volume on the daily time frame in history. This is the pattern that I see. I see a monthly ABC, right? And as soon as we tagged the 625, the 1.0 extension of wave AB, we found buyers. So I love to see that. I love to see the daily here break above this downtrend. To me, this signals two very, very obvious levels, the 961, 929, that whole general area. And if they can capture that, the $16 level is in play. And from a weekly standpoint, what they're trying to do is get above 961 right now. You get above 961, this downtrend is done. And this downtrend has been in play since February 2021. So you're talking about a 14-month downtrend, has not closed a green month since January 2021. So, and again, 961 is what the bulls want to see. They want to go outside of the month, close above 961, and then that will start the rally. Start the rally. And until that happens, they're kind of waiting. ENPH, another one that I'm liking a lot. We're getting this breakout look. As long as 183.15 holds, buy the dip. So any dip into the 180s, I am a buyer of. That's not changing, right? The weekly PPO reset to 0. This chart here could, certainly pull back a little bit further, back down to that 183 level, but this is the level where we're watching for buyers. All of these moving averages are telling me higher prices are likely. But again, if the bulls give up 183, this trade is really, really kind of dead to me. I mean, I would give them the ability to pull back to the green in the 200. So, 178 to 183 is, the error of the room for error, for the margin of error, apologies, for a bull. That's the area where you want to see, but we're still looking for prices much, much higher, right? At minimum, this gap fill, 213, at minimum. And the fact that they come up here now and gone sideways so much, they could certainly come all the way back up and set an all-time high. NVIDIA, so ENPH is what I play to, is the leader within SPY, the positively correlated SPY asset. NVIDIA is my leader within SMH. And so this is the area that we're watching, right? Look above and go. As long as 269 holds, I'm buying dips, right? The target is all-time highs, 346. I was a buyer back here. I'm still holding. I did trim up here, 50% trimmed. Looking to add back into the 10. Any dips into the 10, any dips into the green line, I'm buying. Full stop. No questions asked. Square, an interesting one. I still like. Nothing wrong here. What would be a big red flag would be closing below that 125 level, 122, this trend line. Getting below that, we've kind of got a problem. The weekly, though, is now, 2 weeks above the 10 and the 5. So any pullback into the 5 is for buying. And really, now we're back above the 200 on Square. So this, to me, is a must watch stock. PPO neg 20 looks to be crossing bull, and the monthly, again, we're going to have to see where they close this one out on the month, but above 140 means we've captured the 40 again on the monthly. We've gone below the Bollinger Band on the bottom. We're back above, ideally we want to see above EMA 5, so 150s. That would be full repair of the chart. 65-minute is giving you plenty of action. PPO reset to 0 line. This is where we want to see a curl up. So we're right where she needs to be. If she does not curl up here, if she does not catch a bid, this 122 to 125, well, then we've got something else to talk about. But right now, I like Square a lot as well. She's been paying very, very well. Shopify is an interesting one. PPO reset to 0 on the hourly, right? You got this bull cross, but we don't have price above. If price can't get above 700 to start the week, this thing's going to pull back to 585, which is fine. This gives you that inverse head and shoulders look. We'd still need to get going above the 741 level. Otherwise, price will be stuck in this for some time. And I know we're getting towards the end of the video. Take a look at the 50%, percent of stocks above the 50-day moving average. We're coming up into a key level here. We do have a series of higher lows. So this to me is bullish since the January 24 low, right? And if you look at the put call ratio, that's also when it peaked, January, right? 126, okay? Some other things we look at, Mcclellan Oscillator, right? When it's way down here, it's a strong sell. When it's way up here, it's a strong buy. We just came up here, not to the extreme of the 2020 crash, but close. So that is a sign. This is one of the breadth thrust indicators, right? This is a one of those readings that you watch to tell us whether or not we've exited the bear market and or correction. Trend's another one. This is the ARMS index. And same type of scenario. March 20, you come all the way down here, right? So we're down here. This does look like a broadening. Again, this looks like a buy type scenario, not a sell. The sells are up here, right? So these peaks up here, these are the sells. We don't have that, right? So my breadth is telling me that it's okay to be looking long. When I look at all of these stocks that I track, all the sectors and then the leaders within the sectors, and then I rank them based on performance going back to specific periods in time, you notice a very, very strong theme. When the Fed spoke, when the Fed raised rates in the 15th of March, all of the stocks, the growth stocks, started to outperform. And that is a change in character. It has not been that way since really February of 2021. And that's why I brought it up. It's why I covered CGC, DNMR at the top of the list as well. There's so many of these names that if you just go back to the beginning of the year, they're at the bottom of the list, right? You come back here, it's the beginning of the year, CGC's down here somewhere. Yeah, neg 8. It's not at the top. APA's at the top. XLE, gold, right? And ENPH is only up 2% on the year, right? But you go back now to that March 15th low, right, when the Fed came in and did their thing, and now CGC, DNMR, SOXL, KWeb, Square, Shop, Melly, all these things that were at the bottom of the list are now at the top of the list. And so that's a change in character. And if you're not taking note of that, that's where you can lose all your money, those turns. And the last thing I'm going to end up on is this, Soccer Mom Trades. You should go follow her. She's had this thing going for quite a while now. Haven't seen their bottom for the remainder of 2022. 1,000 votes, 63 say no. This has been going on for quite a while. Despite the increase in price across the board, despite SPY going basically straight up for 9 days, that poll has remained, slightly unchanged. The no crowd went from 70 to 64%, but still the dominant crowd. So this thing could certainly come all the way back down to the 430 level, to 435, and then rocket ship to all-time highs, and everyone would be selling that low. Every retail trader would be selling that low. Okay, that's it. This is real long. If you like the video, hit the like button, share it, subscribe, leave me a message in the comment section, or reach out to me on Twitter, and we'll see you in the next one.